I think you were headed before a bit there. Coming here, yeah. I was trying to meet that. I said, I think this is Sayyid. I said, I hope I wasn't driving rough. Just help. And he's okay. Fatima must want to speak in. Actually, today I went out in the afternoon, so alhamdulillah. This morning, early in the morning, I had a call from the hospital for some blood, like Macedonian family, and then after he had a dental appointment, so Fatima took him. So in the afternoon, after I left work, the girls were up to me, and after that I walked out thinking about a power minute. I wasn't just up enough. Thank you so much. Was it okay today?
No, nothing worries.
No, today I turned it on.
It's okay.
No, today I turned it on. I came here.
Nothing. That's right. Yeah?
Okay. Sometimes, you know what happens? It goes like to 80 here. Just take this out, put this down to about 74 or 30. When you put it on 73, you put this back. Because I have kept it on today.
Yeah.
I was here for I was here for work. Huh?
Yeah.
But I didn't come and turn it on.
Nothing.
Robert, I was here till about 4. I turned it on before I left and make sure everything was okay. Was it on?
Yeah.
But it looks good. But I'm going to ask you guys, was the AC okay? How is it?
Hi, salam. When do we start? How long? 1:30? Another 7 minutes. 6 minutes. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. All praise to Allah who grants us these opportunities. Today is the 8th Muharram 1443 Hijri, and these nights of Muharram al-Haraam, we gather here to offer our condolences to the Prophet and the Ahl al-Bayt, and to remember Imam Hussein and the sacrifices his family and his companions made to save the Islam we know today. May Allah reward you all for coming to this Majlis Azza. In order to begin today's program, I request Brother Miqdad for a short surah. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات.
Now I request Brother Said Kareem for Mardiya. Salawat.
الصلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. باز این چه شورش است که در خلق عالم است، باز این چه نوها و چه عزا و چه ماتم است، باز این چه رستخیز عظیم است که از زمین به نفخ صور خواسته تا عرش اعظم است. این صبح تیره باز دمید از کجا کزو، کار جهان و وضع جان جمله در همه است. گویا طلوع می کند از مغرب آفتاب، کاشف در تمامی ذرات عالم است. گر خوانمش قیامت دنیا بعید نیست، این رستخیز عام که نامش محرم است. در بارگاه قدس که جای ملال نیست، در بارگاه قدس که جای ملال نیست، سرهای قدسیان همه بر زانوی غم است. جن و ملک بر آدمیان نوحه می کنند، جن و ملک بر آدمیان نوحه می کنند. گویا عزای اشرف اولاد آدم است. خورشید آسمان و زمین نور مشرقین، پرورده کنار رسول خدا حسین. کشتی شکست خورده طوفان کربلا، در خاک و خون تپیده میدان کربلا. گر چشم روزگار بر او فاش می گریست، خون می گذشت از سر ایوان کربلا. نگرفت دست ده گلاب بغیرش، زان گل که شد شگفته به بستان کربلا. از آب هم مضایقه کردند کوفیان، خوش داشتن حرمت مهمان کربلا. بودند دی و ده همه سیراب نیمکید، خاتم ز قحط آب سلیمان کربلا. آه از دمی که لشکر اعدا نکرد شرم، کردند رو به خیمه سلطان کربلا. آن دم فلک بر آتش غیرت سپند شد، آن دم فلک بر آتش غیرت سپند شد. کز خوف خصم در حرم افغان بلند شد. کاش آن زمان سرادق گردون نگون شدی، وین خرگه بلند ستون بی ستون شدی. کاش آن زمان در آمده از کوه تا به کوه، سیل سیاه که روی زمین نیلگون شدی. کاش آن زمان ز آه جان سوز آل بیت، یک شعله برق خرمن گردون دون شدی. کاش آن زمان که این حرکت کرد آسمان، سیماب وار گویی بی سکون شدی. کاش آن زمان که پیکر او شد درون خاک، جان جهانیان همه از تن بیرون شدی. کاش آن زمان که کشتی آل عبا شکست، عالم تمام غرقه دریای خون شدی. آن انتقام گر نفتادی بروز حشر، با این عمل معامله دهر چون شدی. آل نبی چو دست تظلم برآورند، ارکان عرش را به تلاطم درآورند. بر خوان غم چه عالمیان را صلا زدند، اول صلا به سلسله انبیا زدند. نوبت به اولیا چو رسید آسمان تپید، زان ضربتی که بر سر شیر خدا زدند. آن در که جبرئیل امین بود خادمش، اهل ستم به پهلوی خیر النسا زدند. بس آتش از اخگر الماس ریزه ها، افروختند و در حسن مجتبی زدند. وانگه سرادقی که ملک محرمش نبود، کندند از مدینه و در کربلا زدند. بس تیشه ستیزه در آن دشت کوفیان، بس نخله ها ز گلشن آل عبا زدند. پس ضربت کز آن جگر مصطفی درید، بر حلق تشنه خلف مرتضی زدند. اهل حرم دیده گریبان گشوده موی، فریاد بر در حرمی کبریا زدند. روح الامین نهاده بزانو سر از حجاب، تاریک شد ز دیدن آن چشم آفتاب. چون خون ز خلق تشنه او بر زمین رسید، جوش از زمین به ضربه عرش برین رسید. نزدیک شد که خانه ایمان شود خراب، از بس شکست ها که به ارکان دین رسید. نخل بلند او چه خسان بر زمین زدن، طوفان به آسمان ز غبار زمین رسید. باد آن غبار چون به مزار نبی رسان، گرد از مدینه بر فلک هفتمین رسید. یک بار جامه در خم گردون به نیل زد، چون این خبر به عیسی گردون نشین رسید. پر شد فلک ز غلغله چون نوبت خروش، از انبیا به حضرت روح الامین رسید. کرد این خیال وهم غلط کار کن غبار، تا دامن جلال جهان آفرین رسید. هست از ملال گرچه بری ذات ذوالجلال، او در دل است و هیچ دلی نیست بی ملال. ترسم جزای قاتل او چون رقم زنن، یک باره بر جریده رحمت قلم زنن. ترسم که از این گناه شفیعان روز حشر، دارن شرم که از گناه خلق دم زنن. دست عتاب حق برایت ز آستین، چون اهل بیت دست در اهل ستم زنن. آه از دمی که با کفن خون چکان ز خاک، آل علی چو شعله آتش علم زنن. فریاد از آن زمان که جوانان اهل بیت، گلگون کفن به عرصه محشر قدم زنن. جمعی که زد به هم صفشان شور کربلا، در 8 صف زنان صف محشر به هم زنند. از صاحب حرم چه توقع کنند بار، آن نوکسان که تیغ به صید حرم زنند. پس برسنان کنند سر را که جبرئیل، پس برسنان کنند سر را که جبرئیل، شاید غباری گیسش از آب سلسبیل. صلوات بر محمد و آل محمد.
Now I request Brother Parviz for a poem. Salawat.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Before my birth, I heard the adhan of Ali al-Akbar in my right ear. As my life ebbs away, in my left ear Qama I now hear. So many wounds my soul has endured, a long life's excursion. The curtain of death descends upon me in uncomfortable immersion. Death's pressure mounting upon my chest, as his sword raises before my eyes, passes the scene of my every life in its phases. O Hussein, my fate is in your hand, and it's you that I'm calling. Save me from your abyss towards which I am descending and falling. Like the blood of Abdullah, please don't launch me towards the sky. To face the judgment of the heavens, I'm embarrassed and shy. Please don't cast me upon the ground, of its punishments I fear. The angels of interrogation of my soul seems far too severe. Instead, my master, upon your face, let me be smeared. Perhaps by my affinity to you I might be spared. For at the altar and throne, you are most surely revered. Salawat.
Salawat. Now I request our respected Sheikh Shafiq Khuda. Salawat.
نعره تکبیر، نعره رسالت
يا رسول الله
نعره هدری و محمد و آل محمد صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل الفاتحة. اللهم صل على محمد وآل الفاتحة. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، خالق السماوات والأرض، إلها واحدا أحدا صمدا لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، خاتم النبيين، رحمة للعالمين، طه وياسين بالقاسم محمد. وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين، ورحمة الله على محبيهم، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقاتليهم وغاصب حقوق حقهم ومنكر فضائلهم أجمعين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم: إن الحسين مصباح الهدى وسفينة النجاة. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بالحسين عليه السلام. May Allah grant all of you a reward for participating in these majalis azam, in the remembrance of Abu Abdullah, as we mark these days culminating in the shahadat of the Imam. Every moment, time, minute, second that you spend attending a majlis azah for Abu Abdullah, each of these seconds, each of these moments are rewardable by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and any of the tears that you shed will be taken by Hazrat Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha, and on the day of judgment will become a source of shafa'at for us, a source of intercession for us. Hazrat Zainab salamullahi alayha has been quoted as saying that shed tears for my brother Hussein, even if that tear is the size of the wing of a fly. Even if that tear is the size of a wing, the wing of a fly, even that will inshallah be helpful on Yawm al-Qiyamah for us. So these are the days that we remember the Imam, an opportunity we have. And I sincerely compliment and appreciate each and every one of you for taking the effort, for taking the pain to come to the Husayniyah, to the masjid. Those who are listening, of course, that takes effort as well, to go into your computer, to listen. Those of you who are attending and risking the situation, the pandemic that is around us. Because one of the things that I had mentioned on the very first night, and I'll just repeat it for my own self, is that yes, we do need to observe the requirements that the health officials have said. Our maraja, our ulama have told us the same thing, that to protect each other is wajib upon us. And to make sure that, inshallah, whatever we can do to the best of our ability, we do. And so when we are getting together for this majalis, of course, this is an opportunity for us to at least see each other to an extent, and be able to, at least, if nothing else, ask each other how we are doing, and ensure that our community, inshallah, is progressing spiritually and physically. And I know that for tonight's discussion, there was a slightly different topic. Well, all of our topics are connected. I wanted to make sure that you understand that as well. All of the topics are connected, but as I had mentioned on Friday, that there is a little bit of an overlap from one topic, from one night to the other, and I just wanted to seek your forgiveness for that. Because until I can complete the subject of the previous night, it is not possible for me to go to the next level, to the next subject. So with that understanding in mind, yesterday night we had begun our discussion on these scientific contributions that Muslims have made, that Islam has made to modern civilization, that we are benefiting from till today. And when I was talking about Amirul Mu'mineen, and the fact that he was the only individual, he was the only person in the history of mankind, who has been able to make a challenge that ask me about any topic, about any subject. Can you imagine any university professor making a challenge like that? Or anybody else, no matter how intelligent they are, whether you look at this century or the last century's intellectual cream, or you look at human history, for anybody to say that I will be able to answer any question about any subject, you will note that there is nobody who's been able to make it. Some professors, some teachers, some scientists, some experts, some intellectuals, some of those geniuses of various eras will be able to specialize or tell you about one subject, will be able to tell you about one topic, and their specialization or their expertise will be limited to that. It was none other than our Mawla, our Imam, who was able to say, you can ask me about any subject, any topic, whether it's about the creation, whether it is about the earth, whether it is about the skies, whether it is about the moon or the sun. And that was none other than Ali ibn Abi Talib, and that is why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has been quoted as saying, Zayyinu majalisikum bi dhikri Ali ibn Abi Talib. Enliven your majalis with the remembrance of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Jazakallah. Yesterday, I appreciate the feedback the Mu'minin give, both constructive criticisms as well as the encouragements. And so we were sitting here, and one of the brothers respectfully said, he says, I felt that I was in a physics or a science class rather than a Majlis Azhar of Abu Abdullah yesterday. And I was touched. I was thinking of that same sentence at night, and I was reflecting on that. And I remember when I was young, one of the Zakireen had mentioned that the Majlis Azhar of Abu Abdullah is a university. The difference is you go to those public universities for 4 or 5 years, you spend $50, $190, $190,000 to acquire an education and acquire a degree that will be used after your names. The difference is that the University of Abu Abdullah is only for 12 days, and inshallah that learning is given to you fi sabilillah, for the sake of Abu Abdullah. Wa salawatu ala Muhammad and ali Muhammad. So we started about of course, the greatest scientist, the greatest thinker and philosopher, and that was none other than Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And we talked about some of his views on the elements that was, basically given taken as basically the be all and end all for many centuries. The Imam says these four elements, he contested it, he contradicted it, he said this is not accurate. Another thing that the Imam talked about, which is also a very commonly held theory, the translator of the book, the great scientist Ja'far ibn Muhammad, is actually a fellow that I had known, Marhum Kaukab Ali Mirza. And in that he mentioned something. He said that in the problem or the difference or the issue in the European community at the time, for those 500 years, so from the time that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam was living and teaching and what have you, till the time that the era of the Europeans came to, what was known as the Dark Ages, came into the Illuminated Ages, one of the things that was happening is that the theories were there, but you will notice that for centuries, certain theories would just be accepted. And Ptolemy's theory, Aristotle's theory is what I was talking about. Another interesting theory that was relevant was that of Ptolemy. Ptolemy's theory was that the sun goes around the earth. And he talked about the zodiac signs, and Muhammad ibn Fahri from Egypt also talked about, how the sun goes around the earth. Because a lot of times, the thinkers, scientists, and even ordinary people had somewhat of a human-centric view of everything. An earth-centric view of everything. That we are the center of the universe. See? And sometimes, and I have mentioned this in passing as well, sometimes we see this in many of the superpowers of the era, of the age. We see this in those people who think that they are superpowers, that the whole world circles around them. I am the center of the universe. My country is the center of the universe. And I remember one time when in 1988, when the airliner Iran Air was shot down by the USS Visin, a ship in the Persian Gulf, which they were there for what reason only Allah knows. They had shot down on a civilian airplane, and of course they acknowledged it afterwards that it was a civilian airplane, and the information went back to the White House, and the president at that time says, I will not apologize for the United States. I don't care what the facts are. I don't care what the facts are, I will not apologize for my country. That was a statement that was actually quoted and has been sort of, a statement used by various other US presidents or what have you. And this reminds us and becomes more evidence of this centric view of me, myself, and I and my country, a view that Islam actually came to eradicate and eliminate. That you are not the center of the universe. And anybody in those eras, in the Dark Ages, in Europe, in those times, from about the 7th or 8th century, right up until almost the 15th century, anybody who contradicted what the norm was or what the church had said would be tortured, annihilated, eliminated, beheaded, or imprisoned. And so this view of the sun going around the earth and the earth being the center of the universe was something that actually in the 7th century, when Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam was there, Imam, Allahumma Jazakallah khair. The Imam already came to repudiate that view. And we see, for example, when the Imam speaks, of course it is on the basis of the Quran Majid. That's why the Prophet said the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt, the Thaqalain go together. The Quran made it known, which all of you, every Thursday you listen to. وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي لِمُسْتَقَرٍ لَهَا ذَلِكَ تَقْدِيرُ الْعَزِيزِ الْعَلِيمِ وَالْقَمَرَ قَدَّرْنَاهُ مَنَازِلَ حَتَّى عَادَ كَالْأُرْجُونِ. You know the verse. All of you know it. لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار. You see what the Quran is saying? The sun has got its own motion and its own direction and its own way of moving. The moon will go through various phases and stages until it becomes like a dry leaf or something to that extent. I'm trying to recall my translation to the best of my ability. لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار. The sun will not overtake the moon cannot overtake the sun. Yani the scientific foundation was already laid that they have their own rotations. And so the Imam went on to explain that if the sun was that center and it was going on, the earth was the center and the sun was going around, then what you would have is that the sun should be visible at night. The sun should be visible at night. And obviously for each place it's not. And so there was a lot of discussion happening over there. And Copernicus, who concurred with the view of Imam Sadiq, was not until the 15th century, till centuries later, saying the same thing that Imam had already said 600 years earlier. So you can see that the foundation of intellectual advancement was already laid, and that is why the Quran's insistence, Rabbi zidni ilman, Rabbi zidni ilman, and we recite this in Qunut as well, that we want Allah Ta'ala to help us increase our knowledge. And the knowledge is an all-encompassing knowledge, not only one specific or a uni-scientific knowledge. Multipolar, multi-scientific, multi-dimensional knowledges. And so one of the things we find is that in these eras, what were some of those contributions that Islam made that we are still using till today? And one of the reasons some of the youngsters were asking, said that, Brother Shafiq, Sheikh, why are you talking about this now? I want us to understand, why did I select this? If we know who we are, which the rest of the world is trying to cover, the media, the Islamophobic elements, they're trying to cover up who we are, the greatness that Islam has had over this last 1400 years, 14 centuries. If we ourselves don't know who we are, how will we explain ourselves to others? If we ourselves become apathetic or shy, then how do we expect us to be able to stand tall and proud, not proud in a negative way, not proud in an arrogant way, but to show the world that it was our contributions as an ummah that was based on the teachings of our A'immah, which was based on the teachings of the Quran Majid, which is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is for that reason that Imam Ali ibn Musa ar-Rida alayhi salatu wassalam has been quoted as saying, Imam Raza says, Rahimallahu man ahyai amrina. May the mercy of Allah be on those who spread our message. Rahman amrina. That whatever our orders are, spread that. Let others know. There are two ways. One, Imam says, بِغَيْرِ al-silatin. One is without having to speak. Don't go around telling people, become a Muslim, become a Muslim, become a Muslim. That's not going to work. That, you have these various elements in various faith traditions. They come knocking on your door on Sunday morning. Become one of us, because let's talk about it. And I love calling them in, and I love having discussions with them. Because that gives me a chance to talk about what the grandeur of our faith has been, our faith tradition. And sometimes when they don't have any answers, they remember that they have to go and pick up somebody, or they have to go out. Because one of the things that Islam has given us, it has empowered us to be able to speak logically and intellectually. Another thing that has made Islam unique, and I often talk to youngsters, and this will be connected to what I had said the day before yesterday as well. Islam wants us to learn about other faiths. Islam wants us to learn about other ideologies. When I was saying that Banu Umayyah were translating a lot, and especially in the time of Banu Abbas, a lot of these texts of the Greeks and the Hindus and the Romans and the Europeans into English, this was not Meaning that I was not trying to say that don't study them and don't appreciate, don't understand. It means that first understand who you yourself are. Make sure that you are firm in your faith before you're able to see about what other faiths have to say. Yani, until and unless you yourself are strong, you'll not be able to defend yourself. You'll not be able to explain yourself. If somebody asks you, why do you believe in X, Y, and Z? What will you say? If somebody asks you, why do you believe in a God that you cannot see? Why do you believe in a prophet that was 1400 years ago? What will you say? Why are you believing in an Imam that is an occultation? What answer will we give? These will come, inshallah, in the forthcoming nights, inshallah. I believe we also have a discussion on Friday as well, is it not, Sayyidina? There is, inshallah. Okay. So in case if there is anything that I have left, I will keep everything for Friday night, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, which will be, I believe, the 12th night of the holy, blessed month of Muharram. And so one of the things is we need to understand. Let me give you an example in human history. Muslim navigators were respected again from the early time of Islam. What was the reason for that? Muslim navigators, in fact, some of the world's most famous explorers, they got all the credit, they got all the light, limelight was shining on them. But do you know many of them, if not most of them, European explorers also needed either Muslim navigators to be with them to be able to guide them, or they were using the books that had been written and compiled by Muslim navigators in their journeys. In that early year, why? Muslim navigators, you see, a Muslim always needs to know where he or she is. What is the reason for that? If you think about it, Jazakallah Sayyidina. If you reflect upon it, and I keep telling you, لَعَلَّكُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ لَعَلَّكُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ The Quran reminds us, tadabbur, tafakkur, reflection, pondering is there. A Muslim always needs to know where he or she is. In relation to what? You understand? MashaAllah. In relation to the holy Kaaba. You need to know where you are. How many times in the past, sadly this doesn't happen again, but I used to get, years ago, people would be phoning me from all over. And they say, Sheikh, can you please tell me, I am planning on going to Windsor, I am planning on going to Saskatchewan, I'm planning on going to Vancouver, I'm planning on going to Calgary. Which way will Qibla be from there? Which way will Qibla be? Now, mashallah, if you go to qiblafinder.com or something, you got everything is at your access on your phone. Your laptop will tell you exactly which direction the Qibla is from wherever you are, anywhere in the world, alhamdulillah. But people were always keen. Now, because people were keen, they say that necessity is the mother of invention. You've heard that, huh? Necessity is the mother of invention. And so the apps came about because they knew that if not 1 billion Muslims, at least 100 million Muslims will be traveling, will be going from here to there, will be needing to know which way is Qibla. So in those days, they didn't have smartphones and cell phones and dumb phones and whatever other kinds of phones. They had to see where the sun was rising, where the sun was setting, where the moon was, where the North Star was, where all the constellations were. And as a result, Muslims had to use the services of their navigators, the scientific navigators. And so you've got such powerful booklets and individuals, including there was one famous Arab writer, Sulaiman, who was from the southern part of the Arabian Peninsula, who did an entire map of what is now known as the Indian Ocean and how to circle around it and get to wherever you want to go. So you would always know where you are, because if you were west of Mecca, you know that Qibla is in the east. If you were north of Mecca, you know that Qibla is towards the south. If you were south of Mecca, you had to know Qibla is towards the north. On salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Another contribution Islam made was to the very, the essence of what we use every single day in our lives without even sometimes realizing it. And that is the numeric system. In Europe and in most places, they used to use Roman numerals. Now, those of you like or who've used Roman numerals, I is 1, I is 2, I is 3, I and then a V is 4. The V is, mashallah, most of you know. X is, thank you. C is, now, 100 by the way. And so if you were to write your birthday, or your telephone number, you would need a whole sheet or a line of paper just to write your telephone number or your birthday or any other significant thing that you needed numerics for. It was the Arabic world that came about with this 0 to 9 number and basically brought out a very simple way of calculating anything that you needed to calculate. And I still remember, in my teenage years, there was one of the famous, I don't want to name it, a pizza store. And their phone number was blank, 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 1111. And I remember reading in the newspaper that so many people when this pizza store started coming up, they would phone the company or they would phone, the directory assistants. I'm sorry, my phone does not have 11. Remember those round phones? My phone doesn't have 11. It only goes up to 9. So Islam's contribution was there. Again, from the time of Amirul Mu'mineen, when the Imam would listen to people talking, he noticed that their grammatics were not correct. They were just speaking for the sake of speaking. And so the Imam actually put the relationship between the noun and the verb and the Arabic syntax and making sure that the sentence structure was done properly. The Quran's revelation gave the people an understanding that this is the proper way to talk, the proper way to speak. What is the role of adjectives? What are the role of the pronouns? How are they used? What are the syntax of all of that? This was done in the time of Amirul Mu'minin because of his ability to see how people were speaking and reflecting. And then you go through the history of these 1,000 years, and you've got people who wanted to travel. But nowadays there are organizations like CAA and various others. And now to mashallah, you've got Google Maps and all that. If you want to go anywhere, you can always Google it and see exactly what's happening there, the weather. But imagine 500 years ago, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, one generation ago. How would people know where to go, what to do? Now you've got signs everywhere. What was the origin of these signs? And so you needed maps. The maps had to give you an idea of the topography, what you will need, because now alhamdulillah, we have roads and everything. But in the days where you had a horse and buggy and donkeys and camels, you needed to know where will be the elevations, where will be the ascensions and the descensions and what have you. And so it was these Muslims at the early ages that actually brought about, for example, Ibn Battuta, who wrote the world's most comprehensive travel manual called Ar-Rihla, that has been used for hundreds of years by those who want to travel to see. And he noted down, he wrote down, to the best of his ability, everything that was climatic, geographic, whatever history he was able to obtain. And Ibn Battuta, very, very famous traveler that even the Western world has acknowledged, has been another contribution made to human modern civilization. And then you look at, for example, Ar-Razi. And Ar-Razi, who was actually, there are a lot of these scientists, a lot of these philosophers, a lot of these thinkers, their names have been also Latinized, okay? So Ar-Razi was known as Raziz in English, and Abu Ali ibn Sina, one of the greatest thinkers, one of the greatest philosophers who, wrote a commentary on the Republic of Plato. Abu Ali ibn Sina, Avicenna, okay? So, these have been Latinized, and many of these people are still quoted today. Jabir ibn Hayyan, the father of chemistry, of alchemy and metallurgy. Okay? And for those of you who I'm sure are aware, anything that has got in the elements table or anything in the scientific or the physics table that starts with AL, usually will be Arabic. Algebra, alchemy. Okay? So a lot of these things that start with AL have got some root or another in the Arabian Peninsula, and more than likely in the Muslims. So you've got all these thinkers, philosophers. Ar-Razi, as I was saying, was regarded as one of the greatest physicians, doctors in the history of mankind. And many of these thinkers were either, and in the early part of the 8th and 9th centuries, were either students of Ja'far ibn Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, or students of Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. And many of them, in their documents, in their treaties, and in their writings, they gave the credit for whatever they have learned or their teachers have learned to none other than Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. Abu Nasr Farabi, one of the greatest thinkers in 872 AD was there. Battani, who had actually talked about seasons. Al-Battani also, again, many of these names have been Latinized, Battani, and they would actually, he has spoken about how, the value of the seasons, what happens, what needs to be done, how the seasons each year come about, and those numeric values of the 12 months were actually put into practice with a proper calendar. This is one of the reasons why, if you recall, on the very first night, I had just alluded to the fact that the actual Islamic calendar did not start originally with Muharram. Now we know that Muharram is the first of the Islamic months, but in actuality, the year of Islam did not start with Muharram. And so again, that's a discussion that I cannot do for today, because I will then be falling behind again, and I'm going to be conscious of the time, because of course we know that inshallah it's a weeknight, and so whatever extra time I took in these weekend nights, I will not be doing tonight, inshallah, bi-idhnillah. And then you've got, the intellectuals like Muhammad ibn al-Khazarani, who was actually known to talk about algorithms and how there are, the impacts of these scientific and various aspects of physics that affect day-to-day life that, needed to be actually put in place. There are a lot of things that we may feel or we think we know, but in actuality has not been documented. And one of the things that the Muslim scientists, philosophers and thinkers, the Mufakkirin, had done was they actually ensured that these were written down, and in writing they were documented. Because one of the things that, why does your teacher at school tell you, and this is something I also inherited, so my madrasa students used to hate me for this, and even when I was in public school teaching, they used to not like me for that either, and that is I would make them write down everything. I want to see a summary, for example, a written summary. And this was something I inherited, because the minute you write something down, there is a greater tendency to be able to remember and recall it when you need it. You see, it's one thing just to listen to a majlis. But if any of my youngsters are writing down, I was actually planning on giving some paper and pen, but then I thought that I have to ask Sayyid Hashmat for this, inshallah, first. If I was to tell you to write it down, that inshallah, bi-idhnillah, on Friday, I'm going to be giving a little mini exam, a mini test. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Then perhaps people will have a little more attention paid to the majlis, right? Because we have always been used to coming to the majlis, listening from one ear, taking it out the other ear, and mashallah, and I'm not saying this is wrong or anything. I'm come to the majlis, please, even if you don't remember whatever was said. Now, I often used to find, after the majlis, we'd be talking about the Maulana, mashallah, he was really good. And everybody would say, mashallah, बहुत प्यारी मजलिस थी, बहुत अच्छी मजलिस पढ़े थे. क्या बोले थे, क्या पढ़े थे? वो तो आपको याद नहीं है, लेकिन बहुत अच्छी मजलिस थी. सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि मुहम्मद व आलिहि. So we find that the science world was filled with intellectual stars throughout. Now remember one thing, that all of these Muslims who had done that had always traced themselves back to the fact that the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt, if they believed in the Ahlul Bayt, because many of them were also Persians, and a lot of these scientists I'm talking about were also Iranians, and many of the the booklets and the treaties that have been attributed to them have actually pointed out, oh, don't forget, this guy was Iranian, this guy was Farsi, this guy was Arabic, this guy was from this area, this guy was Egyptian. So, the very first institution of higher education, of higher knowledge, again, a fact that is little known in the Western world. And if we ourselves don't know it, we will not be able to explain it and defend it. The very first university that had different departments, that had this compartmentalization, was done by two sisters in Egypt who happened to be in the Fatimiyya dynasty. And Maryam and Fatima al-Fahri were the ones who had founded the very first university. Not only were they Muslims, but females as well, remembering the hadith of the Prophet, اطلبوا العلم فريضة على كل مسلمين والمسلمات. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. To seek knowledge is an obligation on every Muslim male and female. We don't subscribe to the theory that some of those who are claiming to be Muslims are proponents of, no, women should not be educated, women should not drive a car, women should not be out, we have to make sure our sisters, our daughters, our ladies are protected. We have no doubt about that. We want to make sure that they are protected. We want to make sure that we do not just leave them to the lions and leave them out in open air. You know, I remember a mullah from South Africa once was telling us a story. He said that a few parents, well, he gave an example of one parent. He said that, please, I am sending my daughter from South Africa to England for her studies, to study. Please pray that she does not get corrupted. Please pray that she does not, her faith and her iman and her aqidah doesn't get corrupted. So this mullah replies, I'm not saying that I agree with this, I'm just saying what his reply was. He says, my dear father, dear uncle, you are telling me that your daughter is going into the rain and that I should pray that she should not get wet. Tadabbur, please. You see, remember, so we want to protect, because again, the Quran and Majid guides us in a way that when Hazrat Maryam, salamullahi alayha, was being approached by an angel, some say Jibreel, some commentators have said it was just an angel, and she had gone away ilal makan al-sharqiyya. She had gone away to an easterly place to do the ibadat of Allah. Allah Ta'ala was about to send her give her a message that she is going to have a child. When the child's news was being brought to her, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala could have sent a little bird to give her the message. Allah Ta'ala could have given a voice to her, could have given an ilham to her. Allah Ta'ala gives a revelation to His Anbiya and to His noble ones in various ways. Allah Ta'ala selected something very different. If I had the audacity, I would say, Ya Allah, why this method? Why not that method? What does Allah Ta'ala do? He sends an angel to Maryam. The angel did not come to her in the form of an angel. He comes to her in the form of a handsome young man. Read the Quran, Surah Maryam. It's in there. I'm not telling you anything from myself. And he goes to her in the form of a man to give her a message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Immediately as she sees a na-mahram approaching, she doesn't get happy and excited or anything. No. قالت إني أعوذ بالرحمن منك إن كنت تقيا. I seek refuge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Get away from me إن كنت تقيا, if you have got taqwa. Allah Ta'ala wanted to see what the tests of the world and the results will be. And so He will challenge us in different ways. If you remember my earlier discussions, I said everybody's test will be different. And everybody will be tested according to what is most dear to them. If your health is dear to you, you'll be tested with your health. If your children are dear to you, you'll be tested with your children. If your wife or your husband is so dear to you, you'll be tested with your wife or your husband. If your money is so dear to you, you'll be tested with your money. If your position is dear to you, you'll be tested with your position. Are you willing to sacrifice for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is what Muharram's discussion is all about. So you've got such intellectuals like Umar ibn Khayyam, who was known for his rubaiyat, the quatrains, that again, still till today in poetry, in writings, in philosophies, have been written, and they've often followed his style of writing in these quatrains and rubaiyat. Rubaiyat is from the word Arabia. Arabia is from Arba. Arba, my Arabic speaking brothers will tell me, is what? Wahid, Ithnain, Thalatha, Arba, Khamsa, That's why the day of Ashura, people have often asked, even at home we talk about, why is Ashura called Ashura? Why we talk about this Ashura Husayniyah? Ashura means 10. Ashura means 10. The 10th day. So basically this is what we have got, and I don't have the time to go into the list that I had prepared, because as I said that Maghrib is mashallah coming earlier. So we don't have the time to go into all of that inshallah, but when we are now understanding what the foundations and the contributions of Muslims have been, we look at if the Muslims have got such contributions, imagine what the leader of the Muslims has done. If Muslims have given the world so much knowledge, if this ilm that we are using has been illuminating the world today so much, imagine what the Babul Madinatul Ilm was. La ilaha illallah. The knowledge that we're benefiting from today has come from that doorstep. And one of the statements that these writers have mentioned, who compiled that book on Imam Jafar ibn Muhammad alayhi salam, they mentioned one thing, that Jafar ibn Muhammad's knowledge came from his father, Muhammad ibn Ali. But in the entire Medina, the Arabian Peninsula, we have not found anybody who taught Muhammad ibn Ali al-Baqir. La ilaha illallah. There's a lot of profoundness in this statement. This is non-Muslims writing this. Because when you want to study somebody, when you want to know somebody, one of the first things that they ask you is, who was your teacher? Who did you learn from? When I see these youngsters, mashallah, all of them beautiful youngsters doing so much. They tell me, yesterday they were telling me, our teacher is Sayyid. Our inspiration is Sayyid over there. So you see the teacher and you see the student, and the student shines. It's a reflection on the teacher. May Allah bless them, inshallah. A part of it goes to the parents as well. But the teacher spending the time, the dedication, makes a difference. What was the first thing that Rasulullah had done when Ali ibn Abi Talib was born? He shared the secrets to the Imam. Whether it was through the transfer of his saliva or through the secrets whispering that the Prophet had done. It's so sad today when we read in some Orientalist writers saying that Muhammad was illiterate. Muhammad was jahil, na'udhu billah. He was ummi. He didn't know how to read or write. Allahu Akbar. This is your illiteracy. Our Prophet knew very well how to read and write, and whenever the need arose, he wrote it. In the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, he takes the pen from Ali ibn Abi Talib and himself writes Muhammad ibn Abdullah as opposed to Muhammad al-Rasulullah. Did he ask Ali? Did he ask Salman? Did he ask Abu Dhar? Any of them? That how do you spell Muhammad? How do you spell Ibn Abdullah? How do you spell? Where should I write it? If you've got a document, a legal document, the lawyer will have to show you where to sign, where to initial. The Prophet didn't do that. He signed and initialed it himself. At the time of his deathbed, he's asking for pen and paper. Where is your logic to say that if somebody is illiterate, why would they ask for pen and paper? They would ask for a scribe to come forward and please write down what I want to say. But you see, we live in a world that everybody has their own agendas, sadly. And these agendas are not always conforming to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. And that's why when we look at the message of Abu Abdullah, Imam refuted the era of his time. The powers of his time, whether they are superpowers or ordinary powers. And that is why when the sixth Imam was quoted as saying that wherever you are, كُلَّ يَوْمٍ عَاشُورَا كُلَّ أَرْضٍ Karbala, every place that you are in, that is your Karbala. Every day that you are existing, that is your Ashura. To fight for haqq against batil. To fight for the wrongfully imprisoned, the oppressed, the mustadafin. When Sheikh Zakzaki was in prison, how many of us raised our voices, sent out letters? When the tragedies take place in Palestine, in Kashmir, in Yemen, in Bahrain, in Eastern Hijaz, did we send out notes of condemnation when Sheikh Nimr was brutally killed? When Ayatollah Sheikh Isa was exiled? Today when there are sanctions on Lebanon and Afghanistan, tragedies happening, Iran is suffering, Syria has gone through a phenomenal amount. What did we do? When Abu Abdullah asks us that you were coming to my majlis, you attended my azadari, you shed tears, but at the same time, did you do something, even sending an email out? Sending a letter out? I mentioned in the Jummah khutbah, with an election looming over in September, this is a time for us to exercise whatever we can, however we can. Send out messages, get their opinions, what will they do? Will they stop arms sales to Saudi Arabia and to Israel? Will they do something for the true standing up of human rights? Will they allow us to have rallies where we want to demonstrate our tabarra against the zalimeen? Or are we just going to say, you know what, I don't want to ruffle any feathers? Because a majority of people in Medina did not want to ruffle any feathers. A lot of the people who were accompanying Abu Abdullah from Medina to Makkah, from Makkah towards Iraq, a lot of them thought that maybe they will get something out of this. Maybe we will have the khilaf in our hands. When they realized that the Imam's intention is to awaken the Ummah, to shake this awakening of the Ummah, thousands left him because they didn't want to create any friction. They were happy where they were. They had mortgage payments, they had families to look after. They didn't want to get involved. I often hear people say, Brother Shafiq, we don't want to get involved. If we go to these demonstrations, if we go to these julus, our picture will be taken, and this one and that power, we may not be able to cross the border again. We might get blacklisted or blue listed or yellow listed or red listed. I don't know. There are different colors of lists nowadays. I might be on a no-fly zone. I might be on a no-entry zone. Can you imagine for a moment if Habib ibn Madahir, Muslim ibn Awsaja, Zuhair ibn Qayn, Muslim ibn Aqil would have thought that I don't want to be blacklisted by Yazid. I don't want to be put on any no entry zone or list. Then we would not have been here in Muharram. We would all been sitting home watching television, playing on the internet. Why are we here today? What is the reason? And one of the bravest commanders whom we are remembering tonight was also known as one of the softest commanders. Allahu Akbar. Abul Fadl was known throughout Arabia as such a brave warrior that just the name of Abbas ibn Ali would be enough to create fear in anybody and everybody. Ya Mawla, Ya Abu Abdullah, I have one question to ask you on this 8th night of Muharram, almost the 8th night. My question, Mawla, is that there were 3 people. There were 3 people who could have changed the destiny of Karbala, who could have changed the destiny of what had happened on the plains of Karbala. 3 people only. Imam would not have needed to take a 4th person. The first of those 3 was Muhammad Hanafiya. Muhammad Hanafiya was the half-brother of Abu Abdullah. Muhammad Hanafiya was known to be very courageous, his valor was well known. Imam keeps him in Medina and tells him that, oh my dear brother, you will look after the affairs of Imamat here in Medina. As I go towards Iraq, you will look after my affairs here. Brave man. Imam says, no, I don't want history to think that I took soldiers there. The second person who was so valiant that he could have turned the history of Karbala around was Muslim ibn Aqil. What does Mawla do? Muslim go to Kufa and see the situation in Kufa. Perhaps Muslim might say that, Mawla, I want to be with you. In Kufa, it is a simple job. Anybody else can do it. Just send anybody else to go find out what's happening in Kufa, let you know, and that's it. I want to come with you. But Muslim did not argue with what the Imam wanted. Imam sends him there. Who was the third one? None other than Abul Fazl al-Abbas. Our salutations on Hazrat Abbas throughout the day of Ashura. Mawla Abbas would keep coming and asking Imam, let me go and fight. Let me go and avenge what has happened. Let me go and show them what is haq and let them see what is their batil that they are on. Every time Imam would refuse him. No Abbas, you cannot go. No Abbas, you are the alamdar. You are the caretaker. Azadarani Imam. ये 3 शख्सियतों में से किसी एक को भी मेरे इमाम इजाजत देते तो पूरी करबला की तारीख उलट जाती. Imam, his intention is different. His whole foundation is different. Throughout the day, Mawla Hussain, Abu Abdullah and Abu al-Fadl Abbas alayhi salam are going towards the battlefield and bringing the bodies of each of their shuhada back. Had it not been for Hazrat Abbas, I am sure that the Imam would not have been able to manage. The Imam's suffering on the day of Ashura was such that his whole beard had turned white. Imagine for a moment if Abu al-Fadl Abbas was not there. Finally, the time comes when everybody has been martyred, everybody has been shaheed, everybody has been laid on the plains of Karbala. The ashab are already shaheed, have already been martyred. The family of the Imam, one by one, has already laid down their lives. Now Hazrat Abbas comes to Imam Abdullah. Ya Mawla, now can I go? जब आखिरी मर्तबा अबुल फजल अब्बास आते हैं इजाजत लेने के लिए, मौला जब इसको जवाब देते हैं, मेरे अलमदार फौज के अलमदार सिपाही सालार तो तुम ही हो। मौला अब्बास ने एहतराम के साथ कहा, या अबा अब्दुल्ला, या मौला, वो फौज नहीं है जिसका अलमदार। Imam refuses Abu al-Fadl Abbas to go. In the meantime, what happens? The little children are talking amongst themselves and expressing each one's thirst to each other. When Hazrat Sakina Ruqayya bint al-Hussein hears that Hazrat Abbas has been talking to her father and that he is coming back to the tent where Sakina was, he sees the thirst on her lips, he can see the thirst and hunger on her face and on those children. Finally, he brings the mashk of Hazrat Sakina to Abu Abdullah. Azadaran Imam, Abu al-Fazl Abbas jang larne ki ijazat nahi ले रहे। ए मौला, मैं क्या मैं पानी ला सकता हूँ बच्चे के लिए? Oh Mawla, oh my master, can I please bring water for the children? Imam looks at Hazrat Abbas. Imam knows what will happen. Imam tells Abu al-Fadl Abbas, I know what will happen. I know why you want to. But he says, if it is for this reason, go Abbas, go. I'm saying Bismillah fi amanillah. Imam has given permission. When the children find out that Imam Hussain has given Abu al-Fazl Abbas permission to go bring water, Hazrat Sakina Ruqayya brings all the children together and she promises them, I will not drink water until all of you have drunk water. मेरा वादा यह है, मैं पहले पानी नहीं पीऊंगी, पहले आप लोग सबको पिलाऊंगी। मेरे चचा Abbas जा रहे हैं फुरात। My uncle has never let me down. Somebody once asked one of the Imams, Yabna Rasulullah, why is it that whenever we have a hajat and we take the wasita, we take the wasila, we take the shafaat, we take the intercession of Abu al-Fadl Abbas, our du'as get accepted? Mawla replies, because on Karbala, Abu al-Fadl Abbas had one wish, and that was to quench the thirst of Sakina. As the Abbas is going towards the Furat, my dear mourners, I told you the bravery of Abu al-Fadl Abbas was known by everybody. As Abu al-Fadl was going towards the Furat, as he was going towards the river, there was nobody who had the courage to confront him and to come in front of him and attack him. They all ran like cowards from one side to the other. The bravery of one is tested when there is a Bahadur, when there is somebody who has got bravery equivalent to what you think you have. Hazrat Abbas, now the children remember the Furat I had mentioned on the fourth night, that the Furat was far away from the Khayyam, from the tents. So the children could not see Abu al-Fadl Abbas, only a part of his helmet could be seen. All they could see was the alam. The flag of Hazrat Abbas, because Hazrat Abbas had taken the alam and the water bag of Sakina Ruqayya.
When Hazrat Abbas reaches the Furat, he fills the water bag of Hazrat Sakina. He takes some water in his hands. He is about to drink the water and then he throws the water away because he is saying to himself, how can Abbas drink water when Sakina is thirsty? हाय मेरे मौला अब्बास जब पानी उठाया हाथ में ना जाने मुअर्रिखीन क्या लिखते एक राइटर ने लिखा था कि जनाब अब्बास के पानी को देखे तो ये वैसे तो हमारी अपने आप की शक्ल नजर आती है लेकिन जनाब अबुल फजल को अपनी शक्ल नजर ना आई सकीना नजर आ गई As he is returning, the enemies have realized that if the water reaches above Abdullah's tent, Imam Hussein might get some energy, might get some more strength. The war will be... One goes behind a tree, they go behind different places. They're firing all kinds of things, rocks, spears, lances, arrows. Allahu Akbar. One Mal'oon is behind one of the palm trees that are there. As Hazrat Abbas is coming, he severs one arm of Mawla. La ilaha illallah. What does Mawla Abbas do? He grabs the march, the water bag of Sakina with the other hand. He's holding on to the alam with his underarm area. He's holding on to the alam and the march. One arm has been severed. My Mawla is bleeding. One of the other Malunas, Hazrat Abbas, is coming forward. One of the other accursed ones manages to sever the other arm of Mawla Abbas. Hazrat Abbas drops the alam. He grabs the water bag with his teeth. At this time, the children no longer see the alam which was now coming towards them. They called out, Ya Uncle Abbas! Hey Chacha Abbas! Pani nahi chahiye, aap aa jao! Hazrat Harani Imam, he calls out to Abu Abdullah, Ya Mawla Adrikdi! With the difficulty, Imam Hussein goes to the main battlefield. He reaches the place where Hazrat Abul Fazl Abbas has fallen. What does he see? An arrow is in the eye of Mawla Abbas. Blood is gushing out. The arms have been severed. खुदा किसी भाई को पहचान की आलम ना दिखाए. Imam sits down where Hazrat Abbas is. The Imam then takes Hazrat Abbas's chair, holds it. He says, Abbas, what have they done to you? Oh Abbas, what have they done to you? Hazrat Abbas does not want the Imam to be grieved. He says, Mawla, they have shot one of my eye and the blood is now in the other eye. Mawla, when I came into this world, my first ziyarat was that of you. Now that I am leaving the world, I want to do an akhri ziyarat of you as well. मौला आँख से जरा खून हटा दीजिए. मौला अब्बास आपको ये जहमत ना देते, लेकिन क्या करूं मैं मजबूर हो गया हूँ. मेरे बाजू कलम. Imam Hussein gently removes the blood from the other eye of Abul Fazl Abbas. Hazrat Abbas looks at his Mawla. He looks at Imam Hussein for the last time and he says, Mawla, please don't take my body to the tent. I had promised Sakina water and I could not. I had promised as a Sakina water and I could not fulfill it. Please don't take my water. Then Imam Hussein says, Mawla Abbas, I have one wish as well. Now that you are leaving this world, all your life you have called me Mawla. Today call me your brother. Bhai keh ke pukaro. Hazrat Abbas ने कहा कि मेरी माँ से वादा किया था कि आपको मौला की हैसियत से रखूंगा. जब इमाम हुसैन ने आखिरी दरख्वास्त जाहिर किया तो हजरत अब्बास ने कहा आए भैया. Hazrat Abbas in that last moment says, Ya akhi. Imam Hussein holds his back and says, Abbas, today my back has been broken. मेरी कमर टूट गई. इन्ना लिल्लाह व इन्ना इलैहि राजिऊन. हुसैन की कमर टूट गई. मातम अब्बास, या अब्बास, या अब्बास, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन.
A'adham Allahu ujurakum, dear brothers and sisters, inshallah it is prayer time and we will offer salat at its prime time. Inshallah, I'll request my younger brothers and sisters to lay out the prayer mats, and right after the adhan, right after prayer we will begin the matam inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن علي الله أشهد أن علي ولي الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله خير العمل الله خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله.
أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين عليا ولي الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاح حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الصلاة ونسكي محياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين أستغفر الله كل ذنب وأتوب إليه يا رحمن. There is connection for ladies wishing to join Salatul Maghribain. Connection is there for ladies to join the Salah, inshallah. Astaghfirullah. Allahu Akbar. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر بحول الله تعالى وقوته أقوم وأقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد كذلك الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا وعافنا واعف عنا في الدنيا والآخرة إنك على كل شيء قدير رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا اللهم عاملنا بفضلك ولا تعاملنا بعدلك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم لعن قتلة الحسين وأولاده وأصحابه اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده إلهي صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر
سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده إلهي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته في أمته ورفع درجته بحول الله تعالى وقوته. أقوم وأقعد وأركع وأسجد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم وفرجنا يا كريم. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك موجبات رحمتك وأدائم مغفرتك والنجاة من النار ومن كل بلية والفوز بالجنة ورضوان في دار السلام وجوار نبيك محمد عليه وآله السلام. اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك لا إله إلا أنت استغفرك وأتوب إليك. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين عليا ولي الله.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وأبناءه المعصومين بالحق حجج الله.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة
قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استغفر الله كل ذنب وتوب. إن الصلاة ونسكي محياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين. استغفر الله كل. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. إلهي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله تعالى وقوته يقوم وأقعد واركع واسجد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم لعن قتلة الحسين وأولاد وأصحابه. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. إلهي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمد عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته في أمته ورفع درجته بحول الله تعالى وقوته. أقوم وأقعد واركع واسجد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. إلهي صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله تعالى وقوته يقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا ولي العافية نسألك العافية، عافية الدين والدنيا والآخرة. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله وخير أسماء كلها لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمد عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. اللهم صل على أستغفر الله الذي لا
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إنه ليس لي علم بموزي رزقي، وإنما أطلبه بخطرات تخطر على قلبي، وأجول في طلبه البلدان، فأنا فيما أنا طالب كالحيران، لا أدري في سهل هو أم في جب، أم في أرض أم في سماء أم في بر أم في بحر، وعلى يدي من ومن قبل من، وقد علمت أن علمه عندك وأسبابه بيدك، وأنت الذي تقسمه بلطفك وتسببه برحمتك. اللهم فصل على محمد وآل محمد، واجعل يا ربي رزقك لي واسعا، ومطلبه سهلا، ومأخذه قريبا، ولا تعنني بطلب ما لم تقدر لي فيه رزقا، وإنك غني عن عذابي وأنا فقير إلى رحمتك. وصل على محمد وآله، وجد على عبدك بفضلك إنك ذو فضل عظيم. الله.
ومحمد وآل محمد صلوات. يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا
खैमे में गुल है बपा लो वो अलम आता है रन से अलमदार का लो वो अलम आता है मश्क सकीना की भी देखो वो है बांध पड़ी खून में डूबा हुआ लो वो अलम आता है पीटते हैं सर इमाम रो रो के हर एक गाम गाजी तसद्दुक हुआ लो वो अलम आता है भाई के अवसाद में से शाह नहीं जीने के मौत का है सामना लो वो अलम आता है जिससे थी जारस बंदी मर गया वो बेचारी जाए तामोल है क्या लो वो अलम आता है खैमे में गुल है बपा लो वो अलम आता है रन से अलमदार का लो वो अलम आता है मातम हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन
Ya Hüseyin.
Ya Hüseyin. Ya Hüseyin. Ya Hüseyin.
به خاطر خوشنودی ارواح همه شهدای کربلا یک صلوات بلند. اللهم صل علی محمد محمد. به خاطر ختم جنگ در همه ممالک اسلامی مخصوصا کشور عزیز ما افغانستان یک صلوات بلندتر. اللهم صل علی محمد آل محمد. تاریخ زمین پر از غم و احساس است در راه بشر وسوسه خناس است، اما به خدا هنوز من معتقدم آب است که سخت تشنه عباس است. صلوات بلند. منم یا ایها الناس باب الهوای جباس، منم یا ایها الناس باب الهوای جباس، منم باب من گلزار علی مرتضایم، حافظ پرچم خونین کربلایم، راهو بر من ببستن فرق مرا بشکستن، منم یا ایها الناس باب الهوای جباس، منم باز کجایی ببینی مادرم البنین، عباسن فتاده ز صدر زین بر زمین، کجایی ببینی مادرم البنین، عباسن فتاده ز صدر زین بر زمین، راهو بر من ببستن فرق مرا بشکستن، منم یا ایها الناس باب الهوای جباس، منم باز برادر حسین جان بیا سوی القمر، آمده از جنان مادر ما فاطمه، منم عاشق تو هستم، من عاشق تو هستم، جدا شده دو دستم، منم یا ایها الناس باب الهوای جباس، منم باز برادر حسین جان، برادر حسین جان چی آمده بر سرم، اشک و خون میریزد از دیدگان ترم، راهو بر من ببستن فرق مرا بشکستن، منم یا ایها الناس باب الهوای جباس، منم یا ایها الناس باب الهوای جباس، باز باشدین آخرین آرزوی وصل ما، بوسیم شش گوشه قبر ابا عبدالله، بن ما نظر بر همه ای یوسف فاطمه، منم یا ایها الناس باب الهوای جباس، منم یا ایها الناس باب الهوای جباس. صلوات بر
सकीना उठो मेरी जान उठो रिहाई मिली चलो घर चले सकीना उठो मेरी जान उठो रिहाई मिली चलो घर चले सकीना उठो मेरी जान उठो रिहाई मिली ये करती थी माँ लहत पर बुका मेरी लाडली गल चलो कर चले सकीना उठो मेरी जान उठो रिहाई मिली चलो कर चले यहाँ से चलो चले करबला वहीं पर तुम्हें मिलेंगे चचा सितम जो हुए बताना उन्हें दिखाना उन्हें ये कुर्ता जला चचा जान को दिखाना जरा रिदा खूबरी चलो घर चले सकीना उठो मेरी जान उठो रिहाई मिली चलो घर चले बताना उन्हें सभी सख्तियाँ मिली किस कदर तुझे झुर्कियाँ हमारी रिदा लुटी किस तरह चीनी किस तरह तेरी बालियाँ बताना उन्हें बुझी किस तरह तेरी तशनगी चलो घर चले सकीना उठो मेरी जान उठो रिहाई मिली चलो घर चले सकीना उठो मेरी जान उठो रिहाई मिली चलो घर पदर से मिलो तो दिल जोई हो बताना उन्हें बहुत रोई हो कसम लो अगर तुम्हारे बिना सकीना कहीं कभी सोई हो लहत बाप की मिले जब तुझे तू कहना यहीं चलो घर चले सकीना उठो मेरी जान उठो रिहाई मिली चलो घर चले सकीना उठो मेरी जान उठो रिहाई मिली चलो लहद जब मिले तुझे बाई की तू कहना उसे मेरी लाडली रिहाई मिली हमें कैद से हमें अब नहीं अजियत कोई मेरे बेजुबां उठो घर चले शबी नबी चलो घर चले सकीना उठो मेरी जान उठो रिहाई मिली चलो घर चले सकीना उठो मेरी जान उठो रिहाई मिली लबे अलकमा तू कर नाफुगा तेरी मौज है अभी तक रवा मेरे प्यास पर हुए जो फिदा चचा के मेरे है बाजू कहाँ कहाँ मश्क है कहाँ है अलम कहाँ है जरी चलो घर चले सकीना मेरी जान उठो ही मिली चलो घर चले सकीना उठो मेरी जान उठो ही मिली चलो या सकीना या अब्बास या सकीना या अब्बास या सकीना या अब्बास या सकीना या अब्बास
या हुसैन जलते हुए खैमों से ज़ैनब की सदाई अब्बास कहाँ हो तुम जलते हुए खैमों से ज़ैनब की सदाई अब्बास कहाँ तुम जलते हुए खैमों से ज़ैनब की सदाई अब्बास हो तुम अब्बास चले आओ खैमों में यतीमों के भूखे और प्यासे हैं लूटे नसीबों के सज्जाद को होश नहीं सज्जाद को
होश नहीं, कुलसूम है घबराई। अब्बास कहाँ हो तुम, जलते हुए खैमों से ज़ैनब की सदा आई। अब्बास हो तुम, जलते हुए खैमों से ज़ैनब की सदा आई। बस हाँ हो तुम, ना सर पे रही चादर, ना सर पे रही चादर, ना मेरा बचा भाई। हो पास कहाँ हो तुम, जलते हुए खैमों से ज़ैनब की सदा आई। से कहाँ हो तुम, जलते हुए खैमों से ज़ैनब की सदा। अब्बास कहाँ हो, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन। मोहम्मद व आल मोहम्मद सलवात। متوجه زيارة عاشوراء. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عزمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها. ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لكم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله، أبا عبد، يا أبا عبد الله، إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاتبا، ولعن الله ابن مرجانا، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمرا، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك بأبي أنت وأمي. لقد عظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، يا أبا عبد الله، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن، وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك والجور عليكم، وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانه وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشيائكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم، وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناسبين لكم الحرب، وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم، وولي لمن والاكم، وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة، وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة. وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله، وأن يرزقني طلب ثاركم مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته، مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة، اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد، اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك في كل موطن وموقف وكفى فيه نبيك. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية، عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فداعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي وبالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني وابدأ به أولا ثم العن الثانية والثالثة والرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجانة وعمر بن سعد وشمراه وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. سجدة. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. اللهم كن وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا وضليلا حتى تسكنه أرضك توحا وتمتئه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصل اللهم على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.
Ahsant. Inshallah, quick announcement, brothers and sisters. Inshallah, as mentioned yesterday as well in the previous nights, that requests for donations. The budget that has been set for this particular year is $15,000, and much hasn't been collected yet, and there are very few nights remaining. Inshallah, encouraging all brothers and sisters to donate generously, as this is not just limited to these Muharram programs, but inshallah throughout the year, the programs that are arranged, and the thawab of that will be obviously rewarded to all those present and all those who have contributed towards it, inshallah. Also, also an announcement regarding the niyaz, the refreshments, that alhamdulillah, all the nights have been booked. So those who would like to contribute towards niyaz, you are suggested that you can contribute towards the donations. That way you can inshallah be contributing towards all these programs that will be arranged throughout the year. Again, a request was made that inshallah there are water bottles that are used because of COVID. So if there are any water bottles that you might have used, please take them with yourself inshallah, so that there's nothing left behind. May Allah protect you all, inshallah. One more announcement is regarding the registration. As you know, that as alhamdulillah, as you're proceeding towards these nights, indeed difficult nights, and they're very limited spots, and everyone comes and wishes to participate and come forth. So please do make sure to register, inshallah. That way the organizers can make sure that there are spots for you, inshallah. Also, if you are interested in reciting anything, there's a sign-up sheet as well as the email, kwshiaevents@gmail.com. You can register yourself for Soul, Salam, Marthia, Matam, or Ziyarat Ashura. As you said, there's no limitation in any language. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.